the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. And then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and his just-washed morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. And then the soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking double reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, with fair round belly and good capon, well lined, with eyes severe and his beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he too plays his part. The 6th age shifts to the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pudge on side. His youthful hose, well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank. His once mannish voice turned to childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, in this strange and eventful history, a return to second childishness, mere oblivion. Saw his teeth, saw his eyes, saw his taste, saw his everything. Okay, we're done. Thanks for coming. No, thank you very much for coming. Simply Shakespeare. We thought of doing something in the summertime that would be light and entertaining and yet somewhat educational. So sit back, relax. We'll be here about 4 hours. Or 75 minutes, whichever comes first. Act 2, Scene 7 from As You Like It. You probably heard that before. All the world's a stage, and I know that. And then you kind of forget the rest. Most of the pieces we'll be doing tonight are like that. Hey, I know this bit. And then you realize you don't. What I'm going to do tonight is try and explain them. So, the scene we just saw, for example, all the world's a stage. And Shakespeare broke our lives down into 7 stages. You puke, you cry, you love, you fight, you judge, you get old, and you die. The end. Roll the curtain, roll the credits. That's all you get. What I'll try and do is try and explain the pieces before we get into them, and I suppose set them up. For example, Much Ado About Nothing. Act 4, Scene 1. Let's get a little complex. Much Ado About Nothing is a play to rival any small-town school rumor mill, full of misunderstandings, mishearings, and mischief. Because what's comedy without a little bit of drama? Hero and Claudio, against the best wishes of the troublemaker Don John, they fall in love and are about to be married. This is where comedies usually end, at the wedding. But not this comedy. Don John fools the groom into believing that his beloved, is a floozy. At the beginning of the fourth act, where things should be wrapping up, Claudio not only dumps Hero at the altar, but publicly humiliates her so badly that her family decides to pretend that she's dead until things calm down. But her sharp cousin, Beatrice, whom we're about to meet, knows that Hero is being slandered. And this is where we find Beatrice and the clever soldier Bendick, who have been verbally sparring up until this point. They're about to become fast friends.
Lady Beatrice, have you wept all this while?
Yea, and I will weep a while longer.
I will not desire that.
You have no reason. I do it freely.
Surely. I do believe your fair cousin is wrong.
How much might the man deserve of me that would right her?
Is there a way to show such friendship?
A very even way, but no such friend.
May a man do it?
It is a man's office, but not yours.
I do love nothing in the world so well as you. It's not that strange.
As strange as a thing I know not. It were as possible for me to say I love nothing so well as you. But believe me not. And yet I lie not. I confess nothing, nor I deny nothing. I am sorry for my cousin.
By my sword, Beatrice, thou lovest me.
Do not swear and eat it.
I will swear by it that thou lovest me, and I will make him eat it that says you love not me.
Will you not eat your word?
With no sauce that can be devised to it, I do protest. I love thee.
Why then, God forgive me.
For what offense, sweet Beatrice?
You have stayed me in a happy hour. I was about to protest I loved you.
Then do so with all thy heart.
I love you with so much of my heart that none is left to protest.
Come, bid me do anything for thee. Not for the wide world.
You kill me to deny it. Farewell.
Tarry, sweet Beatrice.
I'm gone,
Beatrice.
though I am near. There's no loving you.
Beatrice.
Nay, I pray you let me go.
We'll be friends first.
You dare easier be friends with me than fight with mine enemy?
Is Claudio thine enemy?
Is he not approved in the height of villain, that has slandered, scored, dishonored my kinswoman? Oh, that I were a man. What? Bear her in hand until they come to take hands, and then with public accusation, uncovered slander, unmitigated rancor, oh God, that I were a man, I would eat his heart.
Hear me, sweet Beatrice.
Talk with a man out a window? A proper saying.
Nay, but Beatrice.
Sweet hero no, she is wrong. She is slandered. She is undone.
Beatrice.
Princes and counties. Surely a princely testimony. A goodly count. Count Comfort. A sweet gallant, surely. Oh, that I were a man for his sake. Or that I had any friend would be a man for my sake. But manhood is melted into courtesies, valor into compliment, and men are only tuned into tongue, and trim ones too. He is now as valiant as Hercules, that only tells a lie and swears it. I cannot be a man with wishing, therefore I will die a woman with grieving.
Tarry, sweet Beatrice. By this hand, I love thee.
Then use it for my love some other way than swearing by it.
Think you, in your soul, that Count Claudio hath wronged Hero?
Yea, as sure as I have a thought or a soul.
Enough. I am engaged. I will challenge him. I will take this hand and kiss it. And so I leave you. By this hand, Claudio will render me a dear account. As you hear of me, think of me. Go and comfort your cousin. I must say that she is dead. And so farewell.
Oh, happy endings. But not if you're Claudio. Macbeth, perhaps the most rumored and storied and suspicious of perhaps of all plays. We turn to Act 2, Scene 2. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth's love, on the other hand. This is about power. They hunger for power as individuals, and when they're alone, together, their conversations seethe in sensuality, darkness, and the exchange of power between them. Although Benedict and Beatrice end up at the altar, Macbeth and Lady M end up in madness. And that descent begins here at Inverness. Macbeth has just murdered King Duncan to take the Scottish throne. It is not all seriousness, however. We follow the descent into madness with the drunken porter who imagines himself as the gatekeeper of hell, which, in the minds of Macbeth and his lady, is not that far from the truth.
That what hath made them drunk hath made me bold. What hath quenched them hath given me fire. Hark! Peace. It was the owl that shrieked, the fatal bellman that gives the sternest good night. He is about it. The doors are open, and the surfeited grooms do mock their charge with snores. I have drugged their possets, that death or nature do contend about them, whether they live or die.
Who's there? What? Oh!
Alack, I am afraid they have awakened and it is not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. I laid the daggers ready. He could not miss them. Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I had done it. Oh, my husband!
I have done the deed. Didst thou not hear a noise?
I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry. Did not you speak?
When?
Now.
As I descended?
I.
Hark! Who lies in the second chamber?
Donnelly.
This is a sorry sight.
A foolish thought to say a sorry sight.
There's one did laugh in sleep. One cried murder that they did wake each other. I stood and heard them, but they did say their prayers and address them again to sleep.
There are two lodged together.
One cried, God bless us, and amen the other, as they had seen me with these hangman's hands. Listening their fear, I could not say amen when they did say God bless us.
Consider it not so deeply.
Wherefore could I not pronounce amen? I had most need of blessing, and amen stuck in my throat.
These deeds must not be thought of after these ways, so it will make us mad.
Methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more, Macbeth does murder sleep. The innocent sleep, sleep that knits up the raveled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life, labors, balm, of hurt minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher in life's feast.
Oh, what do you mean?
Still it cried to all the house, sleep no more. Glance hath murdered sleep. Therefore Cotter shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more.
Who was it that thus cried? Why, worthy vain? You think so brain sickly of things. Go get some water and wash this filthy witness from your hand. Why did you bring no daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go carry them and smear the sleepy grooms with blood.
I'll go no more. I'm afraid to think what I have done. Look on it again, I dare not.
Infirm of purpose. Give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. It is the eye of childhood that fears the painted devil. If he do bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms with oil, for it must seem their guilt.
Whence is that knocking? How is it with me when every noise appalls me? What hands are here? Ha! They pluck out mine eyes. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No. This my hand will rather the multitudinous season incarnate, making the green one red.
My hands are of your color, but I shame to wear hearts so white. I hear a knocking at the south entry. Retire we to our chamber. A little water clears of us this deed. How easy is it then? Your constancy hath left you unattended. Hark, more knocking. Get on your nightgown, lest occasion call us and show us to be watchers. Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts.
To know my deed, 'twere best not know myself. Wake Duncan with thy knocking, I would thou couldst.
a knocking indeed. If man were porter of Hellgate, he should have old turning the key. Oh, knock, knock, knock. Who's there in the name of Beelzebub? Here it is, a farmer that hung himself on the expectation of plenty. Come in time. Have napkins enough about you. Here you'll sweat for it. Oh, knock, knock. Who's there in the other devil's name? Faith. Here's an equivocator that could swear in both the scales against either scale, who committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven. Oh, come in, equivocator. Knock, knock, knock. Who's there? Hey. Here's an English tailor come hither for stealing out of a French hose. Oh. Come in, tailor. Here you may roast your goose. Oh, knock, knock, knock. Never quiet. What are you? This place is too cold for hell. I'll devil porter it no further. I thought to let in some of all professions that go the primrose way to the everlasting bonfire. On and on! I pray you, remember the porter. Faith, sir, we were carousing until the second cock. And drink, sir, is a great provoker of three things. Three things. Nose painting, sleep, and urine. Lechery, sir, it provokes. And unprovokes. It provokes the desire. But takes away the performance. Therefore, much drink may be said to be an equivocator with lechery. It makes him. And it mars him. It sets him on. It takes him off. Persuades him. disheartens him. Makes him stand to. And not stand to. In conclusion, equivocates him in sleep, and giving him the lie, leaves him.
From Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. This is one of those pieces you'll say, I know that part, and then may not know the rest. Act 3, Scene 1 of Hamlet contains Shakespeare's most famous soliloquy. You'll recognize this one. The play is at the tipping point. Hamlet has set in the plan in motion to avenge his father's murder by his uncle Claudius, now the king. He's made himself appear mad to the court, throwing his courtship with Ophelia into confusion. He has instructed the visiting troupe of actors to reenact his father's murder for the king to see his reaction. The play's the thing, wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. But then the plan hangs in balance. He could see his plan through and see what joy it brings, or he could end it now. The soliloquy is unique in that Hamlet never really refers to himself. He never really says me or I, although we know who he's talking about. Shakespeare goes much deeper than the I feel or I will of conscious thought. He takes us into Hamlet's subconsciousness.
To be. Or not to be. That is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take up arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. To die. To sleep. No more. And by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to, it is a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die. To sleep. To sleep. Perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life, for who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes when he himself might his quietest make with a bare bodkin. Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life? that the dread of something after death. The undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns. Puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others we know not of. Thus, conscience does make cowards of us all. And thus, the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought and enterprises of great pith and moment with this regard. Their currents turn awry, and lose the name of action.
King Lear, Act 3, Scene 2. King Lear is a brutal play, the story of a family in a country marred by betrayal, pride, and eventual chaos. King Lear banishes his youngest, truest daughter when she won't show him any flattery. He turns his kingdom over to his two backslapping, flattering eldest daughters, only to have them turn on him and cast him out. In a parade of two-faced, self-serving nobles, the fool carries the most common sense of any of them, offering snippets of advice to Lear through songs and jokes. But the fool has his work cut out for him, as Lear's prideful rage at his daughter's disloyalty drives him to pick a confused fight with Mother Nature herself, with the fool in tow, trying to calm him down. Who is the real fool here?
I call you servile ministers, that with pernicious daughters join in your high engendered battles against a head so old and frail as this. Oh, 'tis foul.
He that has a house to put his head in has a good headpiece. The codpiece that will house before the head has any, the headpiece shall bouse. So beggars marry many. The man who makes his toe where his heart should make shall of a corn cry woe and turn his sleep to wake. For there was never yet fair woman, but she made mouths in a glass.
No, I will be the pattern of all patience. I will say nothing.
It's a midsummer night, well, a late summer night. So let's turn to A Midsummer Night's Dream. Battling weather has its own demons. King Lear finds humility and depth out in the storm, and a humility and a health that he has lacked before. Shakespeare would often bring his characters out into the natural world and away from the straits of country life and see how they grow. A Midsummer Night's Dream pushes that escape of the world one step further to a fantastical world full of fairies, and things can get pretty crazy. Love potions and donkey heads and what have you. The lovers Hermia and Lysander flee into the woods of Athens to escape when Hermia is promised to Demetrius. They share their plan with Helena, Shakespeare's own Jan Brady. Helena wishes Demetrius would stop chasing him, and Hermia and pay her a little more attention.
How happy some or other some can be. Through Athens I am thought as fair as she. But what of that? Demetrius thinks not so. He will not know what all but he do know. And as he errs doting on Hermia's eyes, so I admiring of his qualities. Things base and vile, holding no quantity, love can transpose to form and dignity. Love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind. Lord, nor hath love mind of any judgment taste, wings and no eyes, figure unheedy haste, and therefore is love said to be a child, because in choice he is so oft beguiled. As waggish boys in games themselves forswear, so the boy, love, is perjured everywhere. For ere Demetrius looked on Hermia's eyes, he hailed down oaths that he was only mine. And when this hail some heat from Hermia felt, so he dissolved, and showers of oaths did melt. I will go tell him of fair Hermia's flight. Then to the wood he will tomorrow night pursue her. And for this intelligence, by a thanks, it is a dear expense. But herein mean I to enrich my pain, to have his sight, thither and back again.
Turn now to Macbeth, Act 2, Scene 1. The post-murder scene between Macbeth and Lady M shows the uncertainty of the guilty conscience that lies inside the Mackers. Each Each murder brings him nearer to the reckless hubris, which nearly ends the play. But first, ill deeds are beset with fear. The internal battle between the desire for power and the desire to remain honorable nearly stays his hand against Duncan. But even in the world awash with witches and prophecies, ghosts and portents, a floating dagger can often raise concerns.
Is this a dagger which I see before me? Handle towards my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. Have thee not, yet I see thee still. Art thou not fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation proceeding from the heat-oppressed brain?
Farewell to all our Scottish fame. Farewell our ancient glory. Farewell even to our Scottish name, safe in martial story. Now Sark runs over us, always stands, and Tweed runs to the ocean, to mark where England's province stands, such a parcel of rogues in a nation.
I see thee yet, in forms impalpable as that which now I draw. Thou marshallest me the way that I was going, and such an instrument I was to use. Mine eyes are made the fools o'er the other senses, or else worth all the rest. I see thee still, on thy blade and dudgeon, gouts of blood which was not so before. There's no such thing. 'Tis the bloody business which informs thus to mine eyes.
What force or guile could not subdue through many warlike ages is wrought now by a coward few, for hireling traitors' wages. The English steel we could disdain, secure in valor's station. But English gold has been our bane, such a parcel of rogues in a nation.
Now o'er the one half world nature seems dead. Wicked dreams abuse the curtained sleep. Witchcraft celebrates pale Hecate's offerings, and withered murder, alarmed by his sentinel, the wolf, whose howls his watch thus with his stealthy pace. With Tarquin's ravishing strides towards his design, moves like a ghost.
I would own I had seen the day that treason thus could sell us. My old grey head had lain in clay with Bruce and loyal Wallace. But pith and power to my last hour, I'll make this declaration. We were bought and sold for English gold, such a parcel of rogues in a nation.
Thou sure and firm set earth, hear not my steps which way they wander. For fear thy very stones prate of my whereabout, and take the present horror from the time which now suits with it. While I threat he lives, words to the heat of deeds too cold breath gives. I go, and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell.
Well, if you rode a horse here, prepare to saddle up. Henry V, Act 3, Scene 1. One of Shakespeare's many historical plays, Henry V finds the titular king ascending to the throne of England, disheartened by civil war. He needs to escape the reputation of his boisterous youth and unite his nation, so he pulls a move that we have seen echoed through history by politicians looking to gain respect. And he decides to go to war with France over disputed lands. Do you remember the movie Braveheart? Exactly the same thing, only different. So, step into the shoes of a British soldier for our final monologue and see if yourself don't feel like storming a few castles by the time we are through.
Once more unto the breach, dear friends. Once more. Or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. Stiffen the sinews, conjure up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard-favored rage. Then lend the eye a terrible aspect. Let it pry through the portage of the head like a brass cannon. Let the brow o'erwhelm it as fearfully as doth a galled rock o'erhang and jutty his confounded base, swilled with the wild and wasteful ocean. Now, set the teeth and stretch the nostril wide. Hold hard the breath and bend up every spirit to his full height. On, you noblest English, whose blood is fed from fathers of war-proof, fathers that like so many Alexanders have in these parts from morn till even fought, and sheathed their swords for lack of argument. Dishonor not your mothers. Now attest that those whom you called fathers did beget you. Be copy now, to men of grosser blood, and teach them how to war. And you, good yeoman, whose limbs were made in England, show us here the mettle of your pasture. Let us swear that you are worth your breeding, which I doubt not. For there are none of you so mean and base that hath not noble lustre in your eyes. I see you stand like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start. The game's afoot. Follow your spirits, and upon this charge cry, God for Harry, England, and St. George!